Hi, it's Dave T here, and it is, believe it or not, 3 o'clock in the morning because I can't sleep because I've just spent probably too much money on an electric mountain bike. And now I'm starting to get those typical kind of second thoughts because I've had to order it and it's going to be a couple of weeks. And did I do the right thing? In the meantime, let me explain the story so far. So I cycle a fair bit on and off road. Normally we do somewhere between sort of 20 and 30 odd miles a week, a couple of rides a week, pretty much all year round. And we do travel with the bikes, which is one of the major issues in terms of choosing this bike. As anyone that watches this channel know, I got a caravan and we go away in the caravan. And I'd like to take bikes with us and explore. And we started looking at e-bikes basically because our rides are just getting slightly shorter and less adventurous. I'm 53 now, my friend's a few years older than me. We want an electric bike would give us a bit of assistance, but not a full-on motorbike type electric bike. We did try one a few weeks ago. Really didn't like it because it's a full-on electric mountain bike with powerful motor, whacking great big battery, will go for hundreds of miles, and it's about 24 kilo. It wasn't for me, the riding experience, it's just way too heavy. I thought it was going to be way too impractical out on the trail in terms of lifting over stiles and gates and stuff like that if you need to. And for transporting it, especially when I've got to get it on the roof because I've got a caravan on the back, it's just not practical. Started to do a whole load of research and narrowed it down to 4 bikes. The Specialized Levo SL, which is the lightweight version of the Levo. The Trek Fuel EXE, but that's not out yet. That's not out until next year. So that's not really a contender anyway. The Orbea Rise M10, which is a really nice bike. And then the outsider, which you've guessed it is the one I bought, which is the Trek E-Caliber, which is a full suspension cross-country electric mountain bike with a somewhat unusual drive system made by a company called Fazua, a German company, but it's quite unusual in terms of you can take both the battery and also the motor out of the bike. So for storage and when transporting and stuff like that, it's much lighter. So now, was it the right decision? Take 2 weeks to find out. What's keeping me up at the moment is because it's a known brand, but it's not been out as long as others and hasn't got as many units out there as things like Shimano, Yamaha, Bosch are the main kind of like free contenders, and obviously they've sold thousands, tens of thousands probably of those. So is it a smart idea going for something that's not as common? I need to do things like connect it up to my Garmin and stuff like that, so is that going to be supported? Because that's the one thing when you don't think about necessarily with things like e-bikes is they all have apps now, so you've got to think about, are they going to be around to maintain and support those apps going forwards, and that's that going to be a problem. My current mountain bike is a 2007 Marion Wolf Ridge, which is an all-mountain style mountain bike, which has got plenty of travel, and this one it's a lightweight cross-country designed bike. But to be honest, that's the sort of stuff we do, and most of the stuff we're doing, we're in Essex, so there's not a huge amount of hills here, so we're mainly doing country lanes and bridleways and stuff like that. The motors aren't incredibly powerful, but they just give you that additional, it's about 55 Newton meters. So hopefully I've made the right decision. I just know I'm not going to get much sleep over the next week or two while I'm waiting for this. In the meantime, good morning or good night for me. Bye now. 4 days after placing the order online, I was contacted by the supplier to say that the 2021 model, which had a significant discount, was no longer available. They could, however, offer me the 2022 model at a discount, but that would be an additional £500. I confirmed with them and Trek that the specifications of the 2 different model years was absolutely identical, at which point they returned to their original offer. However, I did kind of get the feeling that maybe someone was trying to tell me something. So after 3 weeks, finally, the day has arrived when I'm actually getting my E-Caliber. It should be arriving sometime this morning or late morning. And
up early just to get a few things ready. So I've got my pedals taken off my old bike and also things like Garmin mount. I actually bought a new Garmin because I've got the Edge 1030. And the reason I got that is because my older Garmin doesn't support low energy Bluetooth, and you need that to communicate with the Trek. So I needed to buy a new Garmin. So it's all these hidden expenses with e-bikes. But anyway, I've got all that. That's all ready and prepped. I just need to wait for the delivery guy to turn up. And I usually go out for a bike ride on Wednesday evenings. So hopefully I'll be able to get it all set up, ready, charged and everything to go out for my usual ride tonight. And hopefully that will go well. So just wait for the delivery guy now. Hi again. So on Wednesday the wait was finally over and the bike arrived. Not as I expected in a large box on like DPD or something like that, but actually hand delivered in a van which was actually properly rigged out with dividers in the back of the van to carry the bikes. So that was good. First worry over in terms of the look of the bike. Love it. I really like the style of this particular bike. So great there. So I went for a ride on it and it was great, and I love the feel of the bike. It's a much shorter travel suspension than I'm used to, especially on the back, but still pretty good for the sort of stuff that we ride. However, a fault developed, I believe, within about 3 miles, and appears to be related to the speed sensor, but basically the LED or top LED on the control started to flash, and as I attacked a hill with gusto, thinking, great, I'm going to kind of race my friend up who already has an e-bike. He's got an Orbea Rise H10. And I attacked that hill, and after about 50, maybe 100 metres, I was completely knackered. And the reason is because the speed sensor issue, which was causing the LED to flash, actually means that the motor wasn't actually providing any assist. So whilst I was attacking the hill and going up at fair pace, I wasn't getting any assistance at all, which is why I kind of outrun myself and ran out of puff pretty quickly. So far, the company that supplied it, I won't mention them at the moment, but the company that supplied it so far have been pretty good. They offered to pay for it to go to a local Trek dealer, but I couldn't get it into a local Trek dealer very quickly. They're going to be picking it up again this morning, taking it in. I suspect they're going to have to replace the speed sensor. As you can imagine, I am totally and utterly gutted. My concerns about the bike, there were 2 concerns I had, as I mentioned in the first video. First was that it was going to be, the style-wise and everything, I hadn't seen it in the flesh and I wasn't actually going to like it when seeing it in the photos versus actually seeing it in the flesh. It's a bit different. And the ride style was going to be different because I'm used to more kind of what traditionally would be called like an all-mountain type bike with long travel suspension. On that front, I think so far we're okay. We've done a little bit of off-road, and yeah, it's great for the sort of stuff we do. It's not for big hits and full-on downhill, but that's not what we do anyway, so that's great. The other thing that I was concerned about was the drive system, the Fazua. How kind of like robust is it? And so far that's not going too great because obviously 3 miles in and a speed sensor issue. Could just be teething problems with a new bike. And so far, let's say, the bike shop has been really helpful in picking it up and taking it back, and we'll see where we get to. So in a couple of hours or so, the guy will be here to pick it up. I'll wave goodbye to my new e-bike after just a couple of days, and hopefully he'll be back fairly soon and hopefully repaired and we won't have any more issues. And we'll see what happens then.
I had an order for a e-caliber that arrived a couple of weeks ago and had a fault. Basically, you guys took it back in over the weekend to repair it, and the delivery driver's literally just dropped it off. Very nice chap. And I asked him if I could just chuck pedals on, take it up for a spin up the road. I didn't get to the end of my road, which is about 100 metres long, and the same issue cut in. I think we need to work out what we're going to do, because I've completely lost faith in this bike as a product now, to be frank. It was a 2021 on discount, that was supposedly not available, so it was going to be a 2022 for an additional from 350 quid. Yeah, so the bike that's turned up, I may be completely naive in terms of understanding it and everything, but there is a label on the down tube which says 2021. Now, unless they just don't bother changing the stickers, which seems a bit odd, so it looks like it's a 2021 bike anyway, which may or may not be relevant. But either way, I've got a bike here, or had a bike here very briefly, and I haven't managed to get more than a few miles out of it before basically the motor just doesn't work. Yeah, if you could, because at the moment I'm feeling like the universe is trying to tell me something in terms of I'd be foolish to kind of like pursue this at this rate. So yeah, if you could get to come back once he's discussed with relevant people. I mean, frankly, I'm amazed that under the circumstances, I'm not complaining to you, but it just seems bizarre that someone didn't take this thing for a ride up the road, because I literally went 50 metres up the road, because the issue is as soon as you hit 15 miles an hour, an LED starts flashing and the motor will not cut back in. So basically you get up to 50 miles an hour and that's it. In fact, so it's obviously unrideable like that, but I'm just surprised that nobody actually tried that, because it's not too much of a difficult. I'm not asking people to go for a 20-mile bike ride on it.
So as you've probably guessed, I sent the e-caliber back and got a full refund, and as I say, I'm not going to name the supplier, but albeit we had the problems and everything, and I wish they really could have solved the issue when they had the bike back, but they couldn't for whatever reason, and all credit to them, they did give me a full refund. So that's what you really want out of a supplier when things go wrong. So after getting a full refund, or literally before I actually received the cash in my sweaty little palms, then I actually placed an order on an All-Bear Rise M20. One of the other bikes I was looking at, I was originally looking at the M10, which is a higher spec, but a fair bit more money. And I went for the M20 because it was actually lighter. It's a carbon frame still. It is more of a trail mountain bike, so decent travel, front and rear. And it's been a month or so now, and actually enjoying it. Fantastic bike, and having an e-mountain bike generally makes such a difference. It's not just a question of making life easier. There's trails, bridleways and stuff which previously, especially at this time of year, would have just been a slog to ride down, and are now real fun, and a much more fun pace rather than just slogging through the mud at a few miles an hour. And do I regret trying to get the e-caliber? No, not really, because actually it could have been so good. It could have been just the right bike for me, because it's not a full-on long travel suspension bike. It's more for cross-country, really lightweight. I think it would have been fantastic for loading onto the top of a car, especially whilst towing and stuff, and would have been a great bike to ride. However, one of the things it's kind of taught me about e-bikes is the motor and battery system really is the absolute heart of the system, and if that's not supported and if it doesn't work, there's not an awful lot you can do about it afterwards. It's not like drivetrain where I can swap out drivetrain from Shimano to SRAM or something like that, and it's relatively straightforward and easy to do. But if you buy an e-bike, you are locked in to whatever motor system that has. And Fazua, as good as it is in many ways, it just doesn't have, as far as I can tell, the market penetration. So there's not as many dealers around that know how to service and maintain it properly. There's not as many places you can get kind of help and assistance with it. And it's not installed, as far as I can tell, in as many units as the likes of Shimano, Bosch and so on, where there's thousands of bikes. If you go to a mountain bike centre, then you're definitely going to see other riders riding around on Shimano's powered systems, on Bosch powered systems, and I suspect you probably would rarely, if ever, see someone on a Fazua system. They are a bit better known on the road bike scene, I believe. So if you get problems like that, and because they are electronic devices, they are tied in with apps and Garmin's and things like that, if there's not the support going forward, then you can get caught out. And in a way, I'm kind of glad the problems I had happened literally on day one, so I was able to back out of it. That's not to say the E-Calibur's not a great bike. I think in many ways, certainly on paper and spec and the general feel and look of it, it's a fantastic bike, lovely bit of technology. I was somewhat concerned beforehand, and it was just borne out in terms of what happened in terms of the reliability and being able to get it fixed and repaired. Just wasn't there, and that's why it wasn't the bike for me in the end. But if you're after a lightweight cross-country bike that's really, really lightweight, especially when you want to take the battery off, even the motor out to actually store it, load it on cars, stuff like that, then it is a great bike from that point of view. Just wasn't for me. So hope you found this somewhat unusual tale, unusual video interesting and helpful. If you have, then please do hit that like button, and if you're interested in seeing other videos I make, then please do consider subscribing to my channel. But most of all, thanks for watching.